This is TWiT.
There was a report on, I think it was CNBC, quoting two analysts, so, asterisk, but based on various indication they're getting from their own sources, that Azure, which has historically been about half the size of AWS by revenue, they believe is now 2/3 or more and is growing. Well, we know it is growing much faster than AWS right now, and could actually surpass AWS by revenue within a couple of years, all thanks to AI, right? Whatever the real numbers are, I mean, the bit that we know from public statements and financial reports and so forth is that Azure is part of intelligent cloud. We know the growth rate for Azure, but we don't know, we've never gotten a baseline revenue number, so we can't actually say with any certainty how much money it makes. Profitability is another thing, but whatever. Amazon has always been very explicit about AWS, which I think is cool and the right way to do things. But you can kind of compare these businesses, and you can look at the business overall, and you can look at growth numbers. And it's fair to say that, and I pointed this out with Microsoft's revenues, intelligent cloud and Azure growth were both greater than revenue growth at AWS, like much more.
One would argue that we'll know when Azure supersedes AWS when AWS starts concealing their numbers, because that is the US.
Oh, okay. I was going to use the opposite extreme, which is, I think, equally true when Microsoft says it did.
Yeah.
Like in other words, one day we will get, the way it starts is they'll say something like, Azure is on an annual run rate to exceed yada, yada, yada in revenues. And that number will be bigger than what AWS has been.
Right. AWS will come up with a term like the amazing cloud, which represents an array of products.
That's right.
And you don't know what the revenues are for any of them.
You've heard the term moving the goalposts, right? When you're not winning the game, you move the goalpost. Microsoft has dismantled the goalpost and hidden parts of it all over the field. It's a completely different thing.
No, and in the effort of disclosure, they keep saying things like, "Is that a goalpost over there?" Yeah.
And everyone's like looks, and then like a rabbit comes out of his sleeve. So Microsoft has.
Even then, it's a reasonable question to say, when you say Azure, do you mean M365 as well? Because it does also run cloud, right?
Right. These things are purposely commingled and confused, and it's hard to say, right? But Microsoft in this case has this combined cloud business that is not the Microsoft cloud that they talk about, right? Because those are cherry-picked numbers. But if you look at their cloud-based businesses overall, if you could somehow add up the revenues and all that stuff, obviously it's humongous. We don't have to put a big number on it. The question is, what percentage of Microsoft's revenues literally come from the cloud? And it's got to be north of 50%. It's got to be
easily. Yeah, I would think
got to be.
Yeah, I would be very, and again, it's like you're using revenue numbers versus customer counts or seat counts. Like, I'm very interested in the idea of what's left still in the volume license agreement, and what does that represent? That hasn't been modernized to a monthly bill.
So we talked about this a little bit. I think it was last week or the week before. This notion that Microsoft was asked a question during the post-earnings conference call. So it must have been last week, and this person said, I don't understand how this grows. Like, haven't you kind of saturated this market? This was seats for Office or Microsoft 365 commercial. And honestly, for all the lack of transparency we get out of Microsoft, they were pretty good about this one. They said, we actually had plateaued. We started introducing these lower end frontline SKUs, and we saw a couple of years of growth there. That's starting to taper off, but now we view AI, the Copilot stuff, as essentially a third tier. And so if you think about, or not a third tier, I'm sorry, like another expansion of revenue on top of that. So their argument was like, look, our seats aren't going to go up that much anymore, but our revenue per seat is going to go up dramatically.
And that is actually, always better to sell more stuff to your existing customers.
Yeah.
It's a very efficient way to increase revenue.
Wall Street can be somewhat unsophisticated when it comes to certain things, right? So when Azure growth fell below 70, it was 70% consistent for a long time. And it started 60, 55, whatever the numbers were, people started freaking out. It's like, guys, this is mature, it's much bigger now than it was. It doesn't matter if it's not growing as much. This is what we would expect, right? Yeah. And I think you can make the case for, commercial seats, Microsoft 365. It's like, look, we have we've reached everyone we want to reach. We could introduce a $199 a month SKU, but we would just lose money on that. So who cares? We're not going to do that. It makes more sense for us to make more money per seat. And so I think by explaining that explicitly, it was almost like a little school session, like putting a little ad, sit in the seat, listen, pay attention, and with the hope of forestalling the inevitable complaints and possible stock price declines that occur when seat growth goes down, right? Goes down. Right.
Yeah. I mean, recognize, of course, that valuations are insane, right? I get a sense from some folks at Microsoft, it's like they're freaked out by the $3 trillion too.
Yeah. So I never brought this up again. I should have. When Microsoft first surpassed $3 trillion in market cap, I noted that Apple had done it a few years earlier, but specifically mentioned that they didn't finish the day over 3. It was 8 months later, I believe, that they were over 3 and stayed over 3. Microsoft actually did it within the week. Like that's how different the world is. It's not that Microsoft is a better company or whatever. It's just that literally the excitement over AI is so great and the promise is so there or believed to be there that their market cap, I can't guarantee, but if you look at it today, I bet it's 3 point something. Yeah, it's working. Yeah. Yep.
Well, the other conversation I had in this context was also, and baby boomers are retiring, and many of them have not built good portfolios. By golly, they're going to be keen on these top companies to keep performing at irrational rates.
Especially the company. I mean, and these are the companies these guys grew up with and know, and they're still around. And is Oldsmobile something I could still invest in? Is that a thing?
Look, I'm a baby boomer. We're not that nutty, okay? I mean,
are you sure?
Oh, Leo, are you back? I'm sorry.
Oldsmobile. Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Actually,
and besides,
it looks good in your portfolio to have all that going up and up and up. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I have friends who were working at Microsoft in the Balmer years when it was $32 a share, and they got their MA.
And it was time. You could hear the flatline beep for 10 years straight. Beep.
Yeah.
You know who's breathing down their neck now, though, is NVIDIA. That proves what you're saying, Richard, that it's about AI.
Oh my God, of course.
Yeah.
Their market cap surpassed that of Amazon?
Yeah, they're like number 3 now.
Back to irrational.
Yeah, that to me seems irrational, but I don't want to get off on it.
We make fun of Google for being a one-trick pony. Then you look at NVIDIA and go,
but they're not really, because it's not just AI. They've got put chips in cars. They put chips in gaming machines, crypto for a while.
Single percentage points.
Yeah,
compared to what
is AI the whole thing? Yeah, they just released. I'm actually wishing I had a Windows machine running an RTX 30 or 40 series because they just released their own chat GPT.
Yeah, local. That's
local.
Right.
And it's purely local. It'll
chat.
read all your documents. It's based on Llama and I can't remember. It's on 2 open source.
Does it literally drive up to your PC in a wooden rabbit? Or horse, rather? Like a rabbit. I think wooden rabbit was from
like
the
a Trojan
Monty
horse.
Python,
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm just
Not
wondering.
Life of Brian. We're talking.
What's the packaging here?
Yeah.
Open up your
this
PC.
Studio 2 has both the MPU and a 4060. Yeah. So I should definitely install that.
So tempted. Fight over. Yeah. I love the idea of a local GPT. I think that's the future of GPTs is local.
Well, yes and no, right? But you need. It depends, right?
Well, companies might push it because they.
Local. I would call that local. Like
private
this is.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. Like a private cloud GPT kind of a thing. Yeah.
And it's just for me. I would like to have it so I don't have to worry if I'm online or not. I could just,
Yep. Yeah. That will definitely be a thing.
And I can customize.
I have a focus on that for the house because I put the chat interface on the house now.
Exactly.
And the whole point is to be able to unplug the internet connection and it still works.
I mean, imagine like you feed into it all the manuals for all the devices in your house, so you can query.
I love how full circle we've come. By the way, it's like saying I feel like the future of my music collection is going to be like some kind of a physical disc, and it's going to be really hard to do playlists because I'm going to like one song on this disc and one song on this disc.
Well, actually, honestly, you probably want a hybrid. In respect to that, you probably do want a hybrid. because you want local, so you can keep it local. But you also want it to surf the net and get late updated information.
Well, right, but okay. So, but from a smart home implementation standpoint, like the argument is, for certain things, I want this just to be. This should work if the internet is down. It should work on this local set of whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But maybe even be better.
Not to make fun of your whole media statement, but when you count on a cloud provider to provide you with your music and they fail to renew a contract, it's like, hey, remember that music you thought you bought?
Yep.
Yeah, you don't have it anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those incidents are what triggers this misplaced nostalgia for physical media, but or maybe correct nostalgia for actually owning something.
Yeah, for the concept of ownership, not a in perpetuity license that isn't actually in perpetuity.
You're right. I see both sides of this. I just think, when you think about how much money you might spend on music in a year, and you look at the cost of a subscription and the access you get to what's the number now? 70 million songs or whatever.
That's the one I'm looking for.
Right. Well, that's welcome to cable TV. That's
Well, isn't that coming back around too? Is bit by bit we're getting consolidation in this market.
Yeah, we are. YouTube TV is huge now, and it's basically cable over the top.
It will recreate.
Well, with one advantage, you can today say nope, and tomorrow say yes.
That's true.
That's the advantage of the online service part of it.
Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge.
Hey, it's me, Leo Laporte. I hope you've enjoyed this little snippet from Windows Weekly. If you want to see more and want to catch the whole show, you can subscribe in your favorite podcast client or visit our website, twit.tv/WW. And of course, there's links right below me.